This will hopefully be a nice quick tutorial on how to take a copy of an existing Movie Battles 2 map, how to make some changes and create a custom fully authentic game mode event just by making some changes and creating as a custom PK3. So we're going to start in our MB2 directory that's in Game Data Jedi Academy. We're going to need to probably initially associate PK3 files with WinRAR. So in order to do that, right click on one of your PK3 files, go Open With, go More Apps, look for another app on this PC, go into Program Files and look for WinRAR. This is assuming you have WinRAR installed already. WinRAR, that will open it initially up. You may then need to go back to Open With, tick that box, click there, and you should be good to go. So initially we're going to want to extract some files, and this depends on what we want to edit and what change you want to make, but the files we want are in MB Assets Free. You should see a folder in there called ext data. So the way this is laid out is inside ext data MB2 is characters and team configs. These are related to maps already, so this kind of contains all the current maps, what the current characters and team configs are. If you're willing to use characters that already exist, you don't necessarily need to recreate them, but if you want to change and create new characters, i.e. a new like add a model, change weapons, etc., you're probably going to want to do that in here first, or at least extract here and make a change. So let's say in this case we want to add Mandalorians to two sides of a map, and the map we want to use is Mygito. Let's go into characters. We've got a big long list of all the characters that are being used in current, or at least in the ones that are defined in here, in free, fully authentic mode. So let's do a find. Try and find none on there. Try and find some with the word Mando in it. So we've got a couple in there. We've got core Mando there. So let's just find that one. Core Mando, right. I'm going to create a folder for storing some of our stuff in, so we're going to have a custom FA here. I've already taken a copy of the existing MB2 Mygito PK3. We're not going to be overwriting the map we have, we want to create a new PK3 using that as the base. So let's just copy our core Mando file over because we want to make some character changes here. And then what other characters we might want? Well, let's go back on here, let's do another find. See if we can find a Maul character. So we've got a couple to choose from there. Let's have VJ underscore V underscore J Maul. That'll do. I'll stick a copy of that in there as well. And we also want, let's say on the other side, Ahsoka. So let's take that one. So we've got 3 different characters there that we're going to use. Possibly we're going to want a lot more, but let's just use that as our start. Then we're going to need a team config as well. Now the best thing to do is go in here and find the team config for the map you're changing. So you might have to do a bit of looking, but I know that they're here. Mygito Reb, Mygito Sep. Let's grab them as well. And finally, if we go back to the main bit, there's a folder called Maps, and we should see these siege files. We are looking for the siege file for the map that we're editing. So, Mygito Siege. Right. That's all we need. Probably worth keeping this open because we're going to need to replicate that file structure in our new folder, in our new zip. But before we do that, we can start looking at what some of these are. So first thing we're going to do is rename these teams. So we're going to say, we might call this Night Owls, and the Separatists we're going to rename. Now good program for editing these in is Notepad++. So I'm going to open these both up in Notepad++. And you can see here they've got a name up the top as well, which we're going to want to change. So let's just call this... It's probably a good idea to give them a naming string such as mygito underscore custom, or something that represents your event. Commandos. Mygito underscore custom underscore night owls. Right, let's just close them. I'm just going to rename the files to match these now. So, two team files, we've just renamed them just so they make more sense what we're doing up there. So the next bit we're looking at is these classes, and if you can't imagine in game, this is setting out what's in each of the boxes initially, and then it's saying what you could change them to. So in this case, clicking them once would change to each of the subclasses. We don't necessarily want that, so let's remove the subclasses for there, and there's none on this side. We'll make them equal, so we'll do subclass and we'll do a new class 6. So they are the same on there. You can obviously edit the number allowed if you so wish. So next thing to do is finding what characters we want to use. So let's make 2 different Mando characters from that. So I'm going to make 2 copies. And I'm going to do one called Night Mando. And then Commando Mando. We're going to have a Commando Mole, Night. I'm going to open all these up. So again, the names need to match here. So that was Core Mando. We're going to need to rename that to Night Mando, ensuring the case is correct. Okay, we've got them named. We go back into these, we can see that we can now start renaming some of these. So Commando Mando is going to go for the Commando team, and we're just going to, as a test, we're going to add this to each of the ones apart from the last one. And then the Night Mando for the Night Owls is going to go on all of them. Finally, Night Ahsoka for that. And Commando Mole. So we're saying that 1 to 5 spots are going to be just Mandos, and the last one will be Ahsoka, and then same on this but with Mole. Now we can start making a few more changes if we need to on the actual characters. So if we look at model, we can see here that we've got the Rebels model of Maul. We could change that, but I think that will do us for now. We're fine with that. And you can change the skins. Now finding them can be a little bit tricky. If you go into each of these MB asset folders, some of them contain models and skins, and we should be able to match up what ones we want. So Darth Maul, where we've got Maul Rebels, we'll probably find that in here. There you go, Maul Rebels. And you can see where we're saying skin is model underscore twin suns, that also matches that. So if we wanted the desert model, we could change model twin suns to desert. But I think that's probably fine for us. There's certain classes. Now these are ones you probably need to look up on the wiki. We can put some links to where you find them. but they represent different models, different attributes you can add. I think most of these are going to be fine for Ahsoka as well. But setting things like saber style, colours, etc., BP multipliers, there's a lot you can change here on what this character is, as well as the description that you see. Let's concentrate more on the commandos, because we want to see if we can change at least one side so it doesn't look the same. Now there's some icons there that represent what the person sees. These again can be found. You have to have a little look around to try and find exactly where they are, but I think they're in one of these asset files. Graphics, HUD. Yeah, one of them will have these, and they'll be in TGA format. So it can be a bit of trial and error finding the right one or creating a new one. You can add them in as long as the file is in the same directory as what you're saying there. It should show up. So what we do want to do is change this model. So let's go into our assets free. Go into our models, players. So we know that we've got MB Mandy. MB Mandy. So is there some different skins? Yes, there is. So let's. We haven't got we've got the soldier skin on here, so I'm gathering that's that one. Let's just try changing the model entirely. So we've got a couple different ones here. So this model is with a 2 instead of a 1. And for the skin, so if we remove skin, it will just use default, because we just want to use the default, so we know that the Mandy 1 model is being used by the Night Owls, Mandy 2 is being used by the Commandos. I'm not trying to make this accurate, just trying to make it different, at least visibly. Attributes up here again, I think they're going to be fine on both. We've wanted to add different weapons to each. We could do that by changing some of these, but I think that will be fine for what we're doing. Have to make sure that the class is set right to Mandalorian. So we've got a bit of customization there. So now the last thing we need to do is tell the map we want to actually use these. So the last thing we're going to want to open is our siege file. And this is going to set up basically everything that we're running. So if we look here, we've got a team and a team there that match. So if we go Night Owls, rename them so they match here. Now you can see it says use team. This is what we're going to want to change. So we'll start with Night Owls. We're going to want to use team, and we're going to want to match the team name that we set here. So we've got my custom commandos. Use team. Don't need the end of the file name, just needs to be the same. And Night Owls. We've got the team logos there. We can change them if we can find the list of them. Again, on the wiki, the MB2 wiki, I think there is a list of the ones you can use. You can add custom ones if you include them in that directory as per your PK3. Using the ones from the assets means you're just using standard ones. Let's see if we can find some different ones here. Okay. So not in that one. Let's try 2. That looks more promising. 2D. logos, and we've got lots on here. So I reckon MB manned, even if it's for both sides. We could create custom ones if we were really that inclined. But I think that'd be fine for both sides. So let's change that to that. And we'll probably find CIS we can change for that as well. We can change, this is just text obviously that shows for objectives, but we're completely fine with that. This actually shows when people are joining. So I think we can change line 1 to okay, there's some descriptions that come up during the game as well, but I think that's probably fine. Graphics are fine, so we're just doing a final check to see. So I think the last thing we want to do now is rename this to mygito_custom, because that's going to need to match the name of our map. So we're also going to rename our pk3_custom. So now we're going to have to start adding a few new files to match so we can drop them in the right places. So if we're not sure, we can get up number 3 that has the right ones in it. So we're going to need ext data in there. What I find easiest to do is create them here and we can drop them in afterwards. So ext data MB2 character and team config. If you still want to make sure they're completely right, just copy them like that. Team config. Okay. Finally, we're going to need maps, but let's just check that we got that right. Maps, yep. We're going to drop siege into maps. We're going to want to get our characters, drop that into characters, and our teams into team config. Right, I think we should be good to go. So let's open up our PK3 and drop these in. So we should now have maps with our BSP and our siege file. So all we're going to do here is just rename that BSP as well. So final check, these should be the same, your siege and your BSP should be the same. ext data, MB2, characters, should have all your listed characters on there. Team config should have the same names as you're using. These should match the names you're using in your team files, in your siege file. So let's just do a quick sanity check on that just to make sure. So that should be our team file name. So let's just go back into maps, siege, mygito custom night owls. So I would say that looks right to me. So in order to test it, we're going to take that file now, go back to game data, go back to MB2. I'm going to paste that in. and we should have our custom map there now. So we're going to run this locally and just test that we've not broken anything, that it loads correctly and does what it wants. And for that, you're probably going to want to set up a local server. There's a nice, easy way of doing that. We want to create a shortcut here so we would go create a desktop, new shortcut to MBIIDD.x86. I've got mine in here. And then there's a couple of command line arguments we need to add to the end of it. So after the double quotes, we add set dedicated to setnet underscore port 29071, set fs game, and server config default. So the last thing we want to do is inside your MB2 folder is that server config file. We want to change the game mode to fully authentic, just so it loads correctly. So we should be able to there's our file. If we scroll down in this, down to MB mode, should be authenticity. We can change that to FA, so it's number 2. I'm going to leave this open because I want to change it back, because when I'm testing other things I don't want to have that stuck in that mode. Right, should hopefully be good to go now. Let's go back to here, let's run our server. Should get this pop up. Any errors should hopefully be fairly self-explanatory, but it should load everything. It should initially load you on Jewel of the Fates, and we'll change the map to our custom one once we're ready. So now we're seeing hitch warning, heartbeat, we know we're there. We can just do map mb2 underscore my gito underscore custom. And hopefully we should see bad route data not found. That's fine, but we should start seeing that. From here we can now join our custom server, so we should be able to go connect local. So you're probably best off looking up your IP address, connecting via port on this, because you need to connect to your own local host. You can create a server in through the client if need be. I find set up a dedicated server just gives you a bit more control. And we'll wait to see if this loads. So we can see it's loaded our text. We've got Night Owl's taking back control against the Commandos and Maul. With this it's fairly easy to see where the text would end up or what text needs to change. Still loading. Okay, looks promising. If you're going to get an error, if you're going to get some sort of problem, you're going to see it pop up before you connect. So let's go play Night Owls, and there we go. So we've got these to choose from. These are the icons, so they're going to be the same. So let's try first of all being a night owl. Okay, so that's our model and our skin. It's got the weapons that were already assigned. Okay, let's try going to a commando now. There we have. Different skin. Obviously, if we were doing this properly, we'd want to match and get the exact right skins that we want. But they have exactly the same weapons. As a final check, let's just check. Change to more.
3, 2, 1.
That works. While we're here, let's try Soaker as well, just to make sure that works.
Three, two, one.
And there we go. This would be pretty much fine to play. So where do we go from here? So once this PK3 has been created, it needs to be put on a server that has downloading enabled, because it will need to send this custom PK3 to anyone that connects to it. Also, the clients will need to have enabled to enable downloading. But once that happens, they can connect. It should then download the map. You can also send them the PK3. They can put it into their MB2 folder and have it ready to play without needing to be downloaded. But it should be there, and it should be all fine to use. And you can use that map again and again and again. Rename it totally to whatever the event is, so it's easy to find, and it's there to use. As simple as that, really. There's other things that can be changed, such as weapon overrides. If you wanted to create different weapons or different changes, there's some information on the wiki, the MB2 wiki, that explains how that's done and where the files. But it's in much the same format. The files need to be put into the map under a certain override and then given to the player in the character file. So I hope that's at least somewhat fairly easy, and it allows people to create some custom events that we can all play. That would be grand. Cool. Well, best of luck, and thanks for watching.